Not even dark out and he's out of his skull.
Well, man, he's been working awfully hard, you know.
I'm Terry Kaiser. Weekend at Bernie's. We're having a digital fan event September 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be doing a Q&A at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can watch it on, well, YouTube or Facebook. Following the Q&A, you can have a one-on-one video. Meet and greet me on Zoom.
It's fantastic!
Autographs and video greetings are also available.
Hi, Bernie. I hear you've got something for me. A little present?
For information, you can visit www.fullempirepromotions.com. I look forward to seeing you there. Come on, let's talk to Bernie. He can talk.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Lee from the X-Files. Join me for my virtual fan event, my first ever, on October 2nd.
Take this.
Your compass?
So they don't get lost. A family always needs to be able to find one another.
I'm going to be doing a Q&A that's going to be streaming live to Facebook and to YouTube at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Boo-hoo. Cry me a river, you Nancy. Tell me, are all hunters as soft as you in the future? Everybody loses everybody, and then one day, boom, your number's up. But at least you're making a difference.
And following the Q&A, you can meet me on Zoom for a one-on-one video chat. You know, one of my favorite things about going and doing these events around the world and in different places is not only going to see these great places and to travel, because I love to travel, but also to meet the fans and talk to people and hear what they have to say and have them tell me what's going on in their lives, and we share in a conversation. So,
what do you know about fair or right? Krychek, you're a coward.
I could have killed you so many times, Molly. You gotta know that.
And autographs and video greetings will also be available, so you'll have that option as well.
Sir, if I can recommend something, you'll see that I've outlined several countermeasures.
What about Scully?
Reassigning them to other sections seems only to have strengthened their determination. Scully's a problem. A much larger problem than you described.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody that joins in, and looking forward to having a chat with all of you. Okay, hope everybody's well and safe and content, and I'll see you on October 2nd.
I got him! What are you doing, Marv?
Harry, don't move.
Marv?
Don't.
Marv, what are you doing? Marv.
Did I get him? Did I get him? Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah, never mind it, you get it. How do you like it, huh? You jerk! Get the cake, world! Get the cake!
Hi, I'm Ian McCulloch. I was the star in Lucio Fulci's Zombie.
And what I was hoping was that you would join me for a digital fan event on October the 3rd. And I'll be doing a Q&A your time over there in the States of 4 p.m. EST. And that is going to stream live on Facebook. So following the Q&A, you can join me on Zoom for a one-to-one video meet and greet. But if you want autographs and video greetings, you can also find them available on fullempirepromotions.com. Hope to see you and hear you. Bye.
Since the discovery of the first zombie is getting worse by the hour. There's chaos in the streets. The National Guard cannot control the situation. In every borough of the city, from Brooklyn to Manhattan, from Harlem to Queens, the zombies are taking over. The governor has declared a state of national...
Hi, Cassie DePaiva here. Join me for my digital fan event on October 4th. I'll be doing a Q&A at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that's going to stream live on Facebook and YouTube. Then following the Q&A, you can join me on a Zoom for a one-on-one video chat. It'll be a great meet and greet. Autographs and video greetings are also available on fullempirepromotions.com. See you then.
Holding my hand too tight.
Baby, I ain't holding your hand.
Welcome, curious viewers.
And you can rest at the bottom. Find the silence there. Use the silence. You and only you are the author of your own reality.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Full Empire Promotions live event. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Dominic. I'll be your host for this Q&A with Barbara Crampton. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching along live with us. If this is your first time joining us, thanks so much for checking it out, and I hope you'll stick around and enjoy the Q&A. If you've been with us before, thanks for coming back and I appreciate the support. You know, these Q&As are always really informative if you're a fan of the horror genre. Well, before I bring Barbara on, I do want to let you know that following this Q&A, you can have your own private conversation with Barbara. She'll be doing one-on-one video meet and greets on Zoom. So if you'd like 5 minutes to talk with Barbara about anything you'd like, you can go to fullempirepromotions.com and book your session. There's still some sessions available with that. You can also get personally signed photographs from Barbara, as well as video recordings, all on the same website, fullempirepromotions.com. Barbara is running a little bit late, so we're just going to try to let people tune in while she gets here. She's had a busy day, but she is getting ready to come on, so we'll just keep this on until she gets on here. We'll do the demo reel again.
Welcome, curious viewers.
And you can rest at the bottom. Find the silence there. Use the silence. You and only you are the author of your own reality.
curious viewers.
And you can rest at the bottom. Find the silence there. Use the silence. You and only you are the author of your own reality.
curious viewers.
And you can rest at the bottom. Find the silence there. Use the silence. You and only you are the author of your own reality.
Hey, everybody. Sorry for the delay, but good things come to those who wait. Because Barbara is here. I'd like to introduce the star of Re-Animator, From Beyond, Castle Freak, You're Next, Beyond the Gates, and many more, as well as TV credits on soaps such as Days of Our Lives, The Bold and the Beautiful, and The Young and the Restless. You may also remember her from the TV series Channel Zero, Into the Dark, as well as recent films like Reborn and Puppet Master. It's my honor to welcome a friend, a fierce talent, and a wonderful person, Barbara Crampton.
Oh, Dominic, what a nice preview for me, an intro. Thank you so much. You're the
welcome.
best.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
sorry to be late, everyone. I was at a doctor's appointment, and then I got home and I couldn't get onto the system, but my daughter helped me. She's technically a little bit better than I am about these things.
Yeah, well, technology's great. Technology's great when it works.
Thanks.
And it isn't 1990, folks. It's 2020, even though Barbara looks exactly the same as 1990.
Oh, come on.
You know, we are in 2020. Well, I want to start off by mentioning that all the proceeds from this event go towards the charity RAIN. Barbara, can you talk a little bit about why this is so special to you and why you chose this charity?
Well, especially with all the things that have come out in the news lately, and because of some of the things that I've been involved in and a party to, I feel like this charity is more important than ever. This organization has a hotline that you can call for any type of problem with sexual abuse or sexual assault. And they also help make policies and promote policies in Washington to change laws and things. And so much has come out in media lately, and unfortunately in the business that I work in, where perpetrators take advantage of actresses. And also, in the general public, there's a lot of sexual harassment. And we just need to be more vigilant. It just pops up in places that you don't expect. It's even shocking to me when I'm involved with a production or something where something happens and people aren't, punished for what their behavior has been. And I'm just sick of it. So I want to do everything I can and add my voice to trying to make our world a safer place and make work environments a safer place for women.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I want to start off talking about your background a little bit. I understand you grew up sort of on the traveling carnival.
Yeah, funny enough, my dad was a concessionaire with carnivals and fairs. He had many games, and we traveled mostly throughout Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Virginia when I was younger, up until I was about 16, and I worked in a couple of his games. My game was the basketball joint. So the basket, I'll tell you guys, was not really regulation size. It was slightly smaller. So a lot of guys would come up and try to get the basket, and they wouldn't be able to because it was just a little off. But the basketball was regulation size. So it would take a little practice to get the ball in, but because I practiced so often, I could make it every time when I was 11 years old. And you know, I would entreat these people to come in and give me 50 cents and try to get 2 baskets in to win a prize. And often they couldn't do it, and they had to spend a little bit more money to try and win something. And that was really fun. I traveled every summer, and you know, I'm sure a lot of you folks have been to fairs and carnivals. There's rides and games and lots of different eateries. And just growing up on a carnival lot was really fun. You know, just hanging out with other kids, you know, other families that were traveling with the fairs and carnivals. You know, I could ride the tilt-a-whirl 10 times a day if I wanted to, or go on any ride that I wanted. And it was just really fun. And my dad was kind of a showman. So they used to call him the best mic man in the business. He would come on on the mic at his crazy ball birthday game, and he would just make you fall in love with him. He would tell jokes and just talk to people who were walking down the midway and just entreat them to come in, and he would, you know, just entertain them. And maybe that's where I got my love of entertaining, was from him, because I feel like that really happened when I was younger, just being around my dad.
Absolutely. Did you watch films growing up as well? Were you a film fan?
I don't think I was a film fan more than anyone else. I did know from the time I was about 11 that I wanted to be an actress. I do remember growing up, my favorite shows were, funny enough, The Outer Limits, Night Gallery, and The Twilight Zone. And I grew up watching Dark Shadows. That was my favorite, my all-time favorite show when I was growing up. I remember I was in 6th grade, and the show came on at 3:00 in New York. So I would ride my bike home as fast as I could so that I wouldn't miss the first few minutes of the episode. And I have to tell you, every day it scared me. Every day I watched it, I was like, why am I watching this? It's scary. But I kept watching and I kept watching. And I just loved Barnabas Collins. I loved the whole vampire lore. And so I think it was probably prophetic. It was a sign of what was to come for me. I didn't anticipate that I was going to be in the horror genre, but you know, here I am. But I feel like those stories, those kinds of wild, crazy, outlandish stories were some of my favorite.
Right. They sort of planted the seed for you.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't start off in the horror genre. You started off on soap operas, Days of Our Lives, for a few years.
Yeah.
Did you find it a challenge to memorize the heavy dialogue?
Oh my gosh, it was so hard, Dominic. I can't even tell you. Memorization is, you know, it's a muscle like anything else. The more you work it, the better it gets. But I was really bad in the beginning. I didn't, you know, I did plays. I mean, I went to school for theater and I acted in plays, but you would have a month or so to learn your lines for that while you were in rehearsals. But when I got the dialogue for the soap operas, it was really overwhelming to me. I did get better over time very quickly because you just have to. There's no choice. I mean, you just, you know, I have worked with people that weren't very good at it. Some of the older folks, when I first was on Days of Our Lives, used cue cards. So the cue cards would be right underneath the monitor, the screen. You know, there was like 3 cameras, and somebody was there, like old fashioned, like flipping the cards over. I was afraid to use that system because I thought I would just suck at it, and it would look phony and fake. So I never used it at all. But other people did. And, now they have it where you can actually just look at the camera and the words are scrolling down. And I just can't use those systems. I just have to memorize my stuff. And, as I've gotten older too, I say it gets a little bit harder, but, I'm probably pretty good at it and probably better than most people.
Well, they say if you're an actor who's done a lot of soaps, you're never going to get Alzheimer's.
Oh, right. That's great. Yeah. And I'm still doing it. I have 2 jobs coming up, which I can't tell you what they are yet, but things are starting to open up. And so I'm flying somewhere on Tuesday for a job for a week. And then at the end of October, and I have a lot of lines in this first project. And then at the end of October, I'm flying for another film. And so I'm back to learning my lines, which I'm really happy about.
Very cool. Well, we have Joshua watching us saying Barbara Crampton is my all-time favorite actress, a true artist.
Thanks.
He's asking what artist inspired you to begin acting, if there were any.
Danny Kaye.
Danny Kaye.
Okay. I had a few favorites when I was growing up. In addition to watching Dark Shadows after school, I would also watch The $1 Million Movie. That was on WPIX Channel 11 on Long Island in New York. And that came on at 4:00 every day. So I would just watch whatever was on. And frequently there was a lot of 40s movies with Bette Davis and Miriam Hopkins and people like that. And those were my 2 favorite actresses growing up, just watching them in all the old movies. And then a lot of times there was a Danny Kaye movie on from like the 60s or, early, I guess mostly the 60s. And I was just fascinated by him. He was a very full performer. If you've ever seen any Danny Kaye movies, like just everything was big and full. And he kind of felt like he was on stage a little bit,
right.
And I would probably say that could be why maybe I was a good partner with Stewart Gordon and Jeffrey Combs, because I do feel like the early movies that I did were somewhat operatic in nature and somewhat bigger. And Stewart was from the stage and the theater, and so was Jeffrey. So when we all started working together, there was this sense of theatricality about his film, Stewart's films. So I would credit Danny Kaye with my love of acting and the type of acting I did early in my career.
Very cool. Did you ever get to meet him?
That's a funny story too. I never got to meet him, but he was in the hospital at Cedars-Sinai. I think he had cancer, and he was not well, and he was there for many weeks. And I had heard that he was at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. So I went to Cedars-Sinai and I brought him a bouquet of flowers and a card saying that he had really inspired me when I was younger. And, he's probably the reason I'm an actor today. One of the reasons, along with my dad. And, I went up, I found out what floor he was on, and I went up in the elevator and I went to the nurse's station and I said, I want to drop this off for Danny Kaye. And she said, well, his room's down there. You could go give it to him. And I said, oh, no, I can't. I'm not family. I'm just a fan. I can't go into his room. He's ill. I can't, I wouldn't do that. She said, well, he probably wouldn't mind. And I probably should have taken that chance at that moment, but I didn't. And he did send me a note, though, because I left my address, and he wrote me a card back and said, thank you. And then I think it was shortly after that he passed away.
Yeah. Well, you had that little connection with him.
Yeah.
Well, you did another film earlier in your career, TV movie called Love Thy Neighbor, where you worked with John Ritter.
Yeah.
Did you get to spend much time with John?
I did. Yeah. I worked on that for a couple of days, and I don't think many people have seen that movie. But it was, it was a TV movie. It was Penny Marshall and John Ritter, and I played John Ritter's. Oh, well, he was the boyfriend of Penny Marshall, and I was somebody he was having an affair with, some young gal. So that was one of my first really big jobs with really great, talented actors. I was highly intimidated. But John Ritter, everybody talks about how wonderful John Ritter was, and so kind, and so open and generous. And he made me feel very welcome when I was on the set. When I got there, I recall that he took my hand and took me over to the coffee and donut station and poured some coffee for me and gave me a donut. And I think he just wanted to break the ice and make me feel comfortable. And he really did. So it was an honor to have worked with both he and Penny.
Yeah. Great way to start your career.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about Fraternity Vacation. That
Okay.
came next. That came next for you. I think
Yeah.
this is like one of the only few comedies that you've done in your career. Do you?
Well, would you say that Culture Shock is a comedy? The Into the Dark segment I did on
dark comedy, yeah.
Dark comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. I haven't done a lot of comedies. I mean, I think Chopping Mall, I'm sort of funny in that, maybe a little bit.
Right.
But you're right. I haven't gotten to play a lot of comedic roles, although I love comedy so much. I wish I could do more. I wish people thought of me for that a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. But Tim Robbins I was playing opposite Tim Robbins in Fraternity Vacation. So that was awesome. And everyone could tell that he had star quality. I do remember that.
Right. Well, that film's sort of gotten a good cult following over the last few years, coming out on Blu-ray and having people like John Vernon in it.
Right.
Well,
it was fun. Yeah.
Next, you did. You had your role that sort of shaped your career. You began your relationship with Stewart Gordon,
right,
in Re-Animator. How did your involvement in Re-Animator come about? And do you remember your first meeting, first impression of Stewart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't the first Meg cast in the role. I didn't have an audition for it at all, but the role had been cast at another casting session. And the woman who was cast, her mother read the script and said, "Oh, no, you're not doing this movie. This is too, gory and risque. And no, I don't want you to do this." I was in my early 20s at the time. So they had another casting session. And I believe that Jeffrey Combs was already cast in the role of Herbert West. I'm not sure if Bruce Abbott was or not. All of us can't seem to remember. But I do recall that when I went for the audition and Anthony Barneo, who also passed away a couple of years ago, was the casting director. He was there and Stewart was there, and Bruce and Jeffrey. I came in and read some scenes with the both of them. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, these guys are so good. I hope they get the parts. They were really wonderful. And I remember that Stewart gave me a lot of direction in our interview and in my audition and asked me to make adjustments, which growing up in the theater and doing a lot of theater productions since high school and college and having moved to New York City and having done some theater there, I was able to take his direction and just do whatever he asked me to. And that was a sign of things to come because I did get the part. And I've said this before, Stewart is really right in there with you when he's directing you on set and working on a film with you. He knows your character inside and out, and he allows you to do and bring to it what you want to, but he also has very definite ideas about how he wants the characters to be played and how he wants the energy to feel on set and what are the key moments in each scene and how he liked them to be played. And so there was a lot of interplay between his actors and him on a set, and for Re-Animator, we had rehearsal for 3 weeks before we filmed that movie. And I think that was very fortuitous because, right, there's a command of the material. There's a sense of urgency in that movie. Potentially could have come also from the great editing of Lee Percy, but also I just feel like, we were all in something. There was something living and breathing on screen, and we rehearsed it so much. And so once we got on set, we were just ready to jump in and do it. And because we rehearsed so much, and also because Stewart would always go into overtime on all of his films. He would never, we have 12-hour days on a set. We never had 12-hour days. We had 14-hour days, 16-hour days, continuously on every movie I've ever worked on with him. He just he just wanted to play with the material. He just wanted to work it and get it to a place where he felt really good about it. So we just it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't end, you know. People would be hauling the furniture away, and he'd say, "No, one more take." So
yeah. Well, Stewart was a little bit of a perfectionist, and it definitely showed.
Totally.
Definitely showed. You know, he felt strong about his vision.
Yeah.
Sure. I want to mention David Gale. You know, so you're probably one of the most established actor on that film. Did you spend much time off screen with him?
No, yeah, we spent all of our time, all of us, you know, hanging out together. Yeah, and David Gale and Bob Sampson were the older guys, and you know, I definitely looked up to them, and I thought they were just great, wonderful in their characterizations of the parts, and you know, I mean, I was involved in one of the more risque scenes in horror cinema, in Re-Animator, but David Gale couldn't have been more of a gentleman to me and a complete professional, and all of those moments in every scene were like really choreographed and worked out very specifically. So, you know, when I'm on the table and he has the head there and I notice it for the first time and I, you know, hit his head and it falls off and then I scream, and, you know, everything was carefully orchestrated, all those beats, all those moments, so that they were very precise. And as you said, you know, they were perfected by Stewart, and you know, everybody was just such a professional on that film, and I consider it, you know, just a lucky break that I was cast in that role, and that movie really did set me on the course for the rest of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to mention a big part of the success of Re-Animator is its music score from Richard Band. Do you remember seeing the film for the first time, complete with the score?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was really young at the time, and being involved in any film, it's very hard to look at things objectively. I remember feeling proud because it played on Hollywood Boulevard. What's the one that's across from the Man's Chinese? It's. Do you know which one it is?
Not the Beverly.
No. It's on Hollywood Boulevard. So,
not sure.
Somebody should look that up and tell us. But it wasn't the Egyptian? It was another theater. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really fun movie. I thought the score was beautiful, gorgeous, and I thought everybody did amazing work. And the response was very good. So it was one of the more proud moments of my career, seeing that movie on the big screen. Yeah.
Do you think when you read the script originally and saw the risque scenes, do you think the fact that you were a little bit afraid of it is one of the reasons that you took the job, to see if you could do it?
I don't think I was afraid of it at all. I really wasn't.
Wow.
No, I thought the material was inherently fun and funny, and also a little goofy and, you know, crazy and outlandish. And, you know, of course that scene gave me pause. And I was like, oh man, this is a tough scene, but it in the context of everything that was going on, it kind of made everything work. I mean, it didn't seem like it was completely for exploitative purposes or anything like that.
Right.
Although maybe it was to a small degree, because in the 80s, you know, we saw a lot of ladies, you know. Thank you, El Capitan. Thank you so much, Tracy. Oh my God.
Tracy.
The El Capitan Theater, that's where Re-Animator opened. But in the course of the film, I mean, I do feel like my character was strong and smart, and had some gravity to her. So I think if the part was written as Jeffrey Combs talked about me being not him, but the character as a bubble-headed co-ed, it could have gone much differently.
Right.
but I feel like with a character like Meg being as smart as she was and as short as she was initially in the first part of the film, to have something that horrible and really, like a sexual assault, really. And, again, we're all the proceeds for this go to Rain. I think it made it all the more horrible and just mind-blowing that something like this could happen to somebody like Meg, like my character. So, I always appreciated that Stewart, not only in Re-Animator, but in every other movie that I worked on with him, I had strong, very interesting, multidimensional, and deep roles, deep characters.
Right. Yeah, Stewart was ahead of his time in that aspect, for sure. Well, you did Chopping Mall next.
Yeah.
The film is so cheesy, but it's so fun, though.
Yeah.
Do you remember getting the role, and do you remember seeing the mechanical robots for the first time?
Yeah, I don't know. I believe I auditioned for that part, but I think Jim Wynorski had seen me in Re-Animator and thought of me for the part, although it was a completely different part than Meg. She was more of a valley girl and more bubble-headed and, not probably as intelligent as Meg. But I remember it was my first real night shoot where everything was overnight every single day. So we got to work at 6 o'clock in the evening at the mall because the mall closed down, and that's when we were able to film. My biggest takeaway from that was working with Jim Wynorski, who's, famously done 400 movies or something. Yeah. And meeting Kelly Maroney and having a friendship for however long it's been, 35 years. She's one of my closest friends. I just had dinner with her. I live in San Francisco, but I was in LA last week doing post on Jacob's Wife, this next movie that I have coming out. And we had dinner together and social distance with a mask and then just taking our mask off to eat. It was just great to meet her. And I feel like we had good on-screen chemistry. And, I thought she did an amazing job in that role. And, I just love her so much. And I thought the movie was fun when it came out. It was cheesy fun. And I can't believe that some people tell me it's their favorite movie. Yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it has a huge following, and I think it's due to the fact because it's just so fun. The robots. I'd love to see the bloopers for it. I'd imagine.
Yeah. I know. I don't think it takes itself too seriously. I mean, it just doesn't. It's just silly and the robots were cool, and I mean the whole experience was cool. It was all young people, and we were in a mall having a party in the beginning, and it was kind of like we were playing ourselves, although I was playing a version of myself that was a little more silly. But we all got along great and had so much fun. Carrie Emerson was so beautiful. I remember asking her, how do you do your hair? How do you get your hair like that? And, it's just in admiration of her and how cool she was. And, Paul Bartel was there and Mary Warnoff. And, it was just a great experience.
Yeah. And one of the best head explosions on screen next to Scanners.
I know the two best, right? Yeah, right. Totally. I kind of wish that had been me, but that was Susie Slater. She got the honor, and she doesn't work anymore. She's the only one that we can't find of all the cast members. We've had some reunions over the last few years, and pretty much everybody has shown up, even though a lot of people are doing other things now. But we can't find Susie Slater. If anybody can find her, let me know, because we'd love to invite her to something.
Yeah, she may have just gotten married and left the business. And
yeah, but she's not on Facebook. Like we've all been trying to find her through her old agent and on Facebook, and she's just not on anything unless she changed her name, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She could have got married.
Yeah.
Well, Tracy is watching along. She says, Salem Slasher. Sorry for going back over 34 years. You haven't aged a day and look amazing.
Oh, thanks. Oh my God. Yeah. I need a haircut. The coronavirus, you can't get a haircut. Well, you can now. Actually, I can get a haircut now. I just haven't. But thank you. Yeah. I guess.
Garrett loves Chopping Mall.
Awesome. Thank you, Garrett.
Of course, I'd have to talk about From Beyond.
Okay, yeah.
Your character on this film went through
Mhm.
such a diverse metamorphosis. Did
Yeah.
you feel like you were playing multiple characters?
That's a good question, Dominic. It's not really multiple characters, just the facets of one character, but the range of what Catherine McMichaels goes through in that movie was so big that it almost feels like I'm playing a few different roles, right? The repressed psychiatrist, and then, a repressed woman who comes out of her shell and, sees into the beyond and sees what she's been missing all these years. And then becoming a hero and saving the day and then going crazy. That was a dream role, one of the best I've ever had. And I don't know if I will ever get a role that comes close to giving me the opportunity to play a range of emotions as that film and that character allowed me to do.
Yeah, every emotion she had, and
Yeah.
you did it so well. When you had to be crazy, you were crazy. When you had to be smart, you were smart. Did you enjoy your time in Italy during the filming of From Beyond? Did you spend much time in
Yeah.
Italy?
We filmed that nearly, how long ago is it now? 35 years ago?
Yeah, in 1986. Well, I guess it was filmed in 85, came out in 86.
Yeah.
Was that your first time in Italy?
Well,
or no?
it
Re-Animator
was.
I thought
No,
Re-Animator.
we shot Re-Animator in LA.
Did you? Okay.
I'm trying to remember because, yeah, I didn't feel like we filmed From Beyond in Rome. And when I went on the flight over to Rome, I'd never been out of the country. So yes, it was my first experience. I had to get a passport to do that movie. It was like another world, just going to another country for the first time. Probably everybody experiences that. It's just the culture, the architecture, the food, everything is so different. I remember getting there and feeling like it was a dream. Like, am I really here? This is so odd. I'm in another place. So that was a big part of the experience, was being in another country. And we filmed at the old Dino De Laurentiis studios in Rome, and he had gone bankrupt. And a lot of the, I think he came back from that, but at that time he wasn't doing so well. So the studio that he owned, a lot of the heating elements had been pulled out of the walls and sold or something. So there was no heat, and it was particularly cold. It was in April that we were shooting. It was really, really cold. And so they had to bring in these space heaters. They were bullet heaters, big, like really, really large, like 3 feet long and very powerful. And they would turn them on in between the scenes, and then they would have to turn them off because they were so loud. And it was freezing the whole time. It hadn't snowed in 30 years in Rome in April, and it snowed that year. And I remember just being cold in every scene. And I remember drinking a lot of wine at lunch because we had all an Italian crew, and they really enjoyed having a 2-hour lunch break and having some wine with your lunch and really chilling out and enjoying yourself. And it was nice. It's a nice way to make a film. And it was quite an experience to be there. And we were coming off the success of Re-Animator. It had done so well. We made Re-Animator for somewhere around $700,000 at the time. And because it did so well, we were given $5 million to make From Beyond. So imagine $5 million 30 years ago. So
Right.
that, that's what we could do. And a lot of this, we had so many special effects people on that show. And it started the careers off of a lot of people, if you look through the credits, who worked on that movie.
Yeah.
And those creatures were, the From Beyond, Pretorius creature, what he turns into. I mean, those creatures were expensive to make. And we filmed, I think we had a long time. If Re-Animator was like 22 days or something, I think we had 28 days on From Beyond. That was like a luxury. And then we had overtime because Stewart wouldn't stop filming. So, it was like shooting for 40 days with all of the overtime.
Yeah, and then he filmed Dolls back to back, on that same set.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to mention Stewart's wonderful DP, Mac Allberg.
Uh-huh.
I truly believe he was one of Stewart's secret weapons. Did you get to spend much time with Mac?
Yeah. Yeah, Mac came on Re-Animator halfway through, and then he was on From Beyond, and he was really good with Stewart because Stewart was very headstrong, very, very much, the leader and in control on a set, which is great, and had, like we were saying, his own idea about how he wanted things to go. But he didn't, in the very beginning, he didn't know a lot about how the camera worked and camera angles, and we were all learning. I didn't know that much about it at that time either. And camera placement and, just coverage on a scene and how to do that. And so Stewart had also read a book by Alfred Hitchcock and talking about how you only shoot what you want to edit, what you want in the film, because if you shoot more than that, they're going to edit it in a way you don't want. So just shoot what you need. So in the beginning, Mac was fighting with Stewart in a nice way. Well, we kind of need coverage from this angle, or you have to shoot the whole scene, and then you come in for coverage on this actor and then that actor, and maybe you'll do a 2-shot, maybe go over the shoulder, blah, blah, blah. And Stewart would say, no, I don't want to shoot it like that. I only want like this line covered from this angle. And Mac would always say to him, no. We have to, we just have to cover ourselves so that we have enough footage so that things are going to make sense when they're put together. And he was very calm and really experienced and very kind to Stewart. And they ended up being very, very good friends. And I think, you get lucky when you work with somebody, when you work with somebody as good as Mac. And the other good thing about Mac was that, and Stewart, which actually matched together very well, was Mac used to say, we don't want to see the monster right away, but when the monster appears, you want to show the monster. So he was all about lighting the monster and seeing the monster. So in From Beyond, he had a big influence on the colors and the lighting, and that was a big visual part of From Beyond. And I'd say 50% of that came from Mac, wanting to see the monster and wanting to see it in all the brilliant and bright colors. So you really get to see the work, in that movie.
Right. It also tapped into the kind of the Lovecraftian feel while having the lighting. Well, you had small parts in Puppet Master and Trancers 2, and then starred in Robot Wars, all with Full Moon in the 90s. I do have to ask about Trancers 2, just because you had a scene with my favorite actor of all time, Richard Lynch.
Oh yeah, really? He's your favorite actor?
He's my favorite actor of all time. What was your experience with Richard? I heard he was always kind of intense on set. I met him at a convention. I never met him on a set, but
I only had that one scene with him, so it was one day. I don't remember anything out of the ordinary. I don't remember anything extraordinary either. Sorry, I can't fill you with some great story, Dominic. But
yeah.
I just remember him being very professional and really there. We just chatted briefly. I don't think there was anything remarkable about our exchange. I do believe that this was after his accident. It wasn't really an accident, where his face was burned, but that was self-inflicted.
Yeah, that was in the early 70s.
Yeah, so I heard of the story, and I was still younger than 30 at that time, and so for a younger person, I think that made me, gave me pause, and I wasn't sure how to, I was probably very meekly dealing with him, but I remember how awful I felt for him, how tragic I thought that was. I mean, he's such a handsome guy, and
yeah. Well, I don't think anybody ever played a bad guy better than he did. I don't think anybody will.
Really? Wow.
No, I think he was just.
What's your favorite movie of his then?
Well, he actually did. You probably like it. He actually did a TV movie called Vampire, and I think it was 1979. It was supposed to be a pilot for like a Dark Shadows type of series where he plays Dracula.
Oh, who directed that?
It was a TV director. I'm not sure, but it was like.
I'll look that up. I wonder if you can still get it. Can you still get it?
I think you can watch it on Amazon.
I haven't seen that. I've seen a lot of vampire movies, but I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, but it was so good. It had the same kind of feel as Dark Shadows. It was very gothic.
Oh, yeah.
And he's Dracula in it, and I saw him in that for the first. That was the first thing I saw him in, and then I just saw his work after that.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, I want to mention my favorite Stewart film he did in 1995, Castle Freak.
Oh, wow. That's your favorite one?
My favorite Stewart film, yeah.
Oh, why is that?
Well, I think unlike all his other films, Castle Freak, there's no tongue-in-cheek, there's no zany intentions. It's just dark and raw. And it just separates that from Stewart's other work. And it's just a film that I just remember watching, more than anything when I was younger. It's kind of stuck with me. So you did that in 1995. Was this also filmed in Italy?
Yeah, did we film that in Italy? Yes, we did. I forgot. Yes, we filmed that in Giove, Giove. It's a little tiny town in between Rome and Florence, and there's a castle there, and a church or two, one restaurant, and little houses. Not much going on. We filmed that during the time of the OJ chase.
Right.
So while we were filming, in between breaks, we were all running over because we didn't have a TV in the castle. We stayed in the castle, all the actors and Stewart, but we didn't have a TV there. And so we would all run over to the bar, the restaurant, watching the Bronco go down the street, for hours. So that I'll always remember that.
Yeah. I believe Charlie filmed a lot of movies in that castle. I think Ghoulies and a lot of
Subspecies. Was Subspecies filmed there?
No, that was filmed in Romania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the first film I think ever made in Romania.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, Ted Nicolo has really amazing stories about that one.
Yeah, I just saw him recently.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to do a fifth one.
Yes, I know. We were in Albania making the new Castle Freak, and he came over and he was sort of scouting out the locations there and hung out with us for 3 or 4 days on the set. Yeah.
Very cool.
I hope they get to do it. Everybody's in COVID, pandemic mode, but people are trying to film stuff.
Well, your character in the original Castle Freak was sort of an emotional wreck. She's dealing from the death of her son and the accident with her daughter. Was it ever intended that the freak was kind of a metaphor for her anger?
Oh,
like she was kind of blowing them out?
That's deep. I know. I never heard that before.
No?
No.
That's always what I took away from it. It was kind of, her anger, she was pulling him out. It was a metaphor. Maybe it's just me, but
I kind of like that. That's kind of cool, Dominic. We'll have to discuss that more, but no, I didn't think about that at all. I believe at the time I just, tried to act as if I was that character in that situation and what would happen to me if that happened to me in my real life, and how would I feel? And by that time, Jeffrey and Stewart and I had a real shorthand with one another. We all felt very comfortable working together, and it is one of his most serious films. I mean, Stuck is also a very serious film.
The only thing I don't like about Castle Freak is the cat dying. That's the only, the people getting chewed up, I don't mind. But the cat,
you're a cat lover. Yeah,
I don't like the cat, but I get it. He was hungry.
Well, we had to have a cat. We had a cat in Re-Animator. We had a dog in From Beyond, and then we had a cat in Castle Freak. Castle Freak was really a wonderful experience too. And I look back on that film, and I always feel like after I shoot a movie, I could probably act better in it than I did.
Right.
And I always look at that movie and I think, oh, I wish I hadn't been as furious and as mean and as hard towards Jeffrey. I mean, I definitely softened up at the end when he, well, Jeffrey's character, I would say Jeffrey, but when his character, you know, just threw himself over the castle wall and sacrificed himself. But I feel like I wish there had been some more tender moments between us. We didn't have that. I was really angry the whole movie. If I had to do over again, I would have played 1 or 2 scenes with a little bit of warmth towards him to show what could have been, and you know what I didn't go far enough for. But anyway, I always think about that when I talk about Castle Freak. But it was a great experience, and I thought everybody did a great job. Jessica Dollaride that's one of her only films I think she ever did, and she was fantastic. She left the business. Yeah, she left the business, and I don't know whatever happened to her. And you know, I think Jeffrey's drunk scene in the bar is one of his best scenes ever. He's very good at playing drunk. He's done that a few times, but I think that scene in the bar was very good. And of course, Jonathan Fuller as the freak, so scary.
You got to give a shout out. I mean, that
so good.
Had to be difficult for him.
He's such a nice person, and he just withstood, you know, 5 hours every day. All that makeup was practical. That wasn't a suit.
Right.
Today, a lot of times, you know, there's a suit that you zip up into, and then they embellish that, which we did on the Newcastle Freak. But on this one, it was just all practical makeup every single day that he shot. And that was intense. He was just, you know.
Looked great.
Yep.
Well, you took a break from the business a little bit, and then came back with your next.
Yeah.
You said that sort of came out of the blue, was just an offer.
Yeah, I left the business because I met my husband after, well, when did I meet my husband? I guess in like 1999. And around that time, and I've talked about this before, I was hitting my late 30s, and the roles were sort of drying up for me. There wasn't roles, you know, at that time for women in their late 30s. I wasn't quite, I mean, I guess I played a mom in Castle Freak, but people weren't thinking me typically for a mom role, and I wasn't the young starlet anymore. And so I was sort of in an in-between time, and there just weren't that many roles. So I met my husband, and then he wanted to move up to San Francisco for his work. He got transferred with his job. And so I said, okay, I'll go. And I just sort of left the business and just thought, okay, well, you know, I did some soap operas, and I had a couple of good movies, and maybe that's it. And I had a couple of children, and I had a stepson, and I was just being a happy housewife and volunteering at my kid's school and that sort of thing. And then I got a call out of the blue and an offer to play the mom in You're Next. And I read the script. I thought, oh, this is a good script. And don't they want me to audition, or don't they want to talk to me? Nobody's seen me in years. I've done a couple of like little tiny things, but nothing of note. I did work in a David Dakota film though.
Right.
The Sisterhood, but people haven't really seen that movie. And my agent said, no, they just want you for the role. It was Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett and Keith and Jessica Calder, and they just offered it to me. And so I thought, okay, well, I don't know where this is going to go, but geez, I have 2 little kids at home, and I remember acting as being really fun, and I'll just do it as a lark and just see what happens. So I made the movie, and the moment I got there, I was in awe, because we started filming right away, and we had rehearsals, and then, Adam Wingard would like throw the camera on his shoulder and, take it away from the DP sometimes and say, let me film this scene. And AJ Bowen would talk to me in a scene, and I couldn't tell where the acting began and real life ended because he was so good. And Ty West is a director himself, and he was so good in his scenes. And Joe Swanberg was amazing in his scenes. And I was blown away by everybody's talent on that film. And Simon Barrett came up to me very early on. He wrote Your Next, and he was also one of the producers. And he said, "Do you like what you're saying in this scene? Because if you don't like what you're saying, you can say something else. We can talk about it, or, you can just make something up, or, let's see, because I want you to feel really comfortable with my words." No one had ever said that to me before in my life. That was a completely different way of working than I'd worked with Stewart. This was like the mumblecore movement, the real free-flowing, let's see what happens, what do we get kind of filmmaking. And I found it very liberating and free. And also I was a bit intimidated by it, to be honest with you. And I thought, oh my God, I hope I'm as good as these young people, because they are so good. And I was so inspired by them. And I get tears in my eyes thinking about it, because that's the movie that brought me back. And because I had such a good time on it, and it was so good. And I saw that film when it premiered at the Toronto Film Festival as part of Midnight Madness at TIFF. And it was in the Ryerson Theater. And I think that theater holds somewhere between 1,300 and 1,700 people, and it was packed.
Yeah.
And I asked to see it beforehand, and Keith Calder said to me, he's the producer, he said, "No, I don't want you to watch it, because you are going to have quite an experience watching it with a big crowd, with a lot of people. It's really going to be something." And at that time, I wasn't really knowledgeable about the whole film fest circuit, which I am now, which I've been on this film fest circuit now for the last 10 years with all these other independent movies I'm making. But it was a whole new experience for me. So I went there, and at the end of the movie, it was like people were cheering and clapping, and we went up on stage, and I was shaking, and it was just awesome. And I went out into the lobby, and I saw these executives on their phones, and I could tell the energy was high, and people were loving the film. And all these executives, I found out, and a couple of days later, that there was 5 offers made for the movie, multiple offers, really great offers. And then it sold to Lionsgate, and then Lionsgate and Summit Entertainment merged, and so they put it on a shelf for 2 years.
Yeah.
Didn't come out for 2 years, but in the meantime, people were still talking about it, because it also played at Fantastic Fest, which is another big genre fest. And I went to that one too, and I just met all these cool young filmmakers and saw these great movies there. And I just, at the end of that experience, of that 2 film festivals that I went to with that movie, and knowing that it was going to come out soon, I told my agent that I wanted to maybe potentially reinvest myself in my career and try to come back, and they should look for other roles for me. And I said, I live in San Francisco. Am I even going to be able to work? Or will people hire me? And he said, well, yeah, let's try. And so then I hired a manager who's, both my manager and my agent are really good friends of mine now. And they helped me resurrect my career. And I just started working again in other movies that, have done pretty well. And yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think that was another metaphor. I think Your Next meant your next, resurgence. You reanimated.
Dominic, you're so deep today.
You reanimated your career.
Yeah, I guess maybe so. Thank you. I'm privileged to be here, and I just feel lucky that it was me that they called, to be in Your Next, because I've written about this in my Fangoria column as well. I think there's a lot of ladies my age that I would really, I think people are looking at them now, and some people are getting more roles, and I'd love to see some other of my friends get a lot of, roles and love and acknowledgement as well, because I think there's a lot of untapped older woman talent out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, you went on to do a lot of other films like Lords of Salem, We're Still Here,
I was cut out of Lords of Salem.
You were, but you're on the deleted scene.
Oh, yeah.
The Blu-ray is deleted scene.
Yeah.
I don't think the movie was very good, but I did watch it.
Okay. A lot of people like that movie.
Yeah, I know. It was Richard Lynch's last film as well. He did that right before he died, and then his scene most of his was cut out as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did that film, and We're Still Here. which was great. Lucio Fulci.
Oh yeah, that was another film, We're Still Here, that I love, and I really feel like, you know, I was very lucky to get that role, and that role meant a lot to me, and I feel like
Right.
that helped cement my return to some degree too.
Right. And we're running low on time, but I do want to mention Jackson Stewart's movie, Beyond the
You
Gate.
love that movie.
I love that movie. I think it's a love letter to the '80s and VHS.
Yeah.
And it's just done so well.
Yeah.
What made you decide to put on a producer hat for this?
Well, actually, there's another movie called The Wildness. That's a little bit bigger film that I've been trying to get produced for a number of years. When I first tried to get that one produced, and people knew that I was sort of taking that around town, Jackson Stewart, who I'd become friendly with because he was friends with Stewart, I think he might have been his intern at one time, he called me and said, oh, I'm making this movie and I need some help, and I know you're dipping your foot in the water producing, and would you possibly consider helping me make Beyond the Gates? And so I read the script, and I thought, I really liked it. I really liked the relationship of the two brothers the most. That was the foundation for me, their relationship, and how they, you know, had this issue around their father, and their relationship with one another, and they were at odds and they couldn't get through that, and finding their father was going to reconcile them. And I thought that was a really good message. I also loved the character of Evelyn, and I thought to myself, wow, I could play this part. This is a good part for me. But Jackson said, well, I don't know, I have somebody else in mind for that part. And I said, oh, okay, you know, I'll help you produce the movie because I really like it, and you want somebody else in the part, then okay, fine. So we filmed that with another actress, and the footage didn't work out, and she doesn't live in Los Angeles, and she had to go back home. And it just, for some reason, it just didn't work. It was to no fault of hers. So I came in, you know, as a pinch hitter because we just needed somebody to do it. And Jackson said, oh my God, the footage doesn't work. We can't get her back here. Can you fill in and can you do the role? And I was like, yeah, this is a great opportunity for me. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I did it. And then after helping him with the whole movie, you know, putting it together, editing, and, you know, in pre-production, also helped with some casting and getting the composer and everything else we had to do, and getting it to film festivals. I thought, I really kind of like this aspect of the business. This feels like you have a little bit more control and power, and it was very well received. It won Best Film at the Los Angeles Film Festival, just in the horror genre category. And so I thought, yeah, I like this. I'm going to continue to do this. So this is, you know, I'm moving on with it. I produced Jacob's Wife. We filmed that in January. Did we film it? No, February. About 8 days. We finished right before the lockdown, so we were able to do post-production on it, and that's going very well, and the movie's looking really great. So I very much enjoy producing, so I think I'm going to continue to do that as well as acting. I can't leave acting. I really love it, and just really love that I'm back in the genre and doing it again, and I'm so happy. Yeah, so.
Right. Well, aside from Jacob's Wife, is there anything else coming? I know you've done a lot recently that we didn't cover: Culture Shock and Reborn and Replace. Is there anything else kind of coming out that you can mention?
I do want to give a shout out to Gigi Salguerrero, who did a pass on the script for Culture Shock and also directed it. I think she's one of the most exciting voices in the genre working today. If you haven't seen that movie, I hope you watch it. She won an award last night. It was the Imagine Awards, IMAGEN, for Latin filmmakers, and she won Best Director of a feature film for television. Yeah, and it's called Culture Shock. It's part of the Into the Dark series from Blumhouse, but on Hulu. And I just think she's fantastic, and I just loved my role, but I just think the movie's great, and I think she's great. So I want to give her a shout out. I have another film that is going to be announced very soon to play at an online film festival, and it's called Sacrifice. And it's sort of an ode to Lovecraft, although it's not really based on any one Lovecraft story, but there are elements, very strong Lovecraft elements in Sacrifice. It was originally called The Color of Madness, but they changed the name after The Color Out of Space came out with Nicolas Cage because they just don't want it
too close
to get too close and get mixed up. But we filmed that in Norway. I filmed that last summer in Norway, and that is coming out, I'm sure, pretty soon. I don't know if we'll get it this year, but definitely early 2021. And it's coming to a film festival near you very soon. So you'll be hearing about it. I play a Norwegian woman, so I have a Norwegian accent.
Oh, cool.
That was really fun too.
Yeah. This whole year's like a Lovecraft story. We don't, we can wait until next year.
Yeah, with Lovecraft Country and coming out, and a lot of Lovecraft stuff happening.
And just 2020 itself.
It feels like Lovecraft. This is it. Oh, so I was talking to some people the other day, and you know how we say Black Lives Matter, and then other people say all lives matter. Take issue with that. I mean, I think we have to focus on marginalized people, and I'm for Black Lives Matter in dealing with the situation, not in protesting, but peaceful way.
Right.
But if Lovecraft had a bumper sticker and he was talking about 2020, the bumper sticker, and I can't take ownership of this. It was John Stryzik who said this, I think. I was on a Zoom with him the other day. He said, Lovecraft would say, no lives matter. Right?
He would.
Because Lovecraft felt that, we are minuscule in the cosmos, and what we do has no bearing on what's going to happen, and that we are at the mercy of so many other things that are out of our control, and we are so small.
Right.
And nothing we do is going to have consequence. I mean, it's terrible to think about that, but we'll keep trying anyway, Lovecraft. We'll keep trying. But I thought that was funny because that's very indicative of what Lovecraft would say. No lives matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You would. Well, the last question I want to ask, I ask everybody that I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
It's cliche, but I like hearing the answer. If you could pick one co-star to be the lead in a film with you, and one director to direct the film, who would you pick? And the caveat, they have to be alive, and they have to be people you've never worked with before.
Well, my favorite actress is Meryl Streep, so I'd probably pick her. Or if I had to pick a guy, can I pick two? Because I always want more. I would pick Morgan Freeman, because I love Morgan Freeman. I've always loved him, and I just think his energy is so beautiful. And
I'm convinced there's 5 Morgan Freemans. Because he works so much.
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered, how does he have time to do all this? He's like everything.
Yeah, I love him, and I just love Meryl Streep. I would definitely feel intimidated by her because she's like the best actress ever. But I think it'd be cool to work opposite her. And as far as a director, maybe Lars von Trier. I love Lars. He's very dark, but I really love Lars von Trier's stuff. I love how his films look and feel, and I think he's a gritty filmmaker. So yeah.
Did you see his latest House That Jack Built?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Saw that one. Well, Barbara, thanks so much for spending the time with me. It's always great to see you. Always fun to talk.
You. I miss you, Dominic. Yeah.
You too.
Good watching you on Instagram with your friends and colleagues going to Martha's Vineyard, and and you're doing these other Zoom panels with your clients and whatever. So it's really nice to see you still, being out there.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have conventions at the moment.
Trying to
keep
keep the con vibe going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back next year at some point, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Barbara. Well, we'll see you in a little bit in the Zoom session.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
Thanks so much to everyone who watched us live. Sorry we're running a little bit late. If you have a Zoom session with Barbara, we're still going to be in the same order, so you can head on over to that email. We'll try to get back on track as much as we can. But you will get your Zoom session, so click on the link and hang out in the waiting room, and we'll bring you in as soon as we can. Again, thanks so much to everyone who watched. Always great talking to Barbara. And I'm excited to say that we have another event coming tomorrow with Terry Kaiser from Weekend at Bernie's. So you can join us back here at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.